I'm Jim Monahan here at 105.5 WDHA on the Jersey Magazine. And my guest, I don't even know quite how to introduce you because you've done so many different things between playing Division III college basketball, songwriting, artwork. You're an author. You've traveled the world. At any rate, Brett Newski, good morning and welcome here to WDHA.
Hey, Jim. Thank you for the hospitality.
And the reason I'm talking to Brett this morning is the author of a recently released book called It's Hard to Be a Person, Defeating Anxiety, Surviving the World, and Having More Fun. And there are a lot of pretty cool illustrations in the book. People don't associate anxiety with fun. Why did you specifically put that in the title, Brett?
Awesome question. Not been asked that yet. But yeah, I think, we just, as humans, we got weird brains, it's, there's too much going on up there. And I think we just we clog up that brain so much where there could be fun to be had. And 99% of the stuff we worry about is just self-inflicted nonsense. And I do it all the time. It's the bane of my existence. I love to catastrophize, I'll think of something negative and then I'll double down on it and just focus on it all day. And then I could have been having fun, yesterday. And instead I just worried about useless stuff,
So let me go back to playing college basketball. Did any of your anxiety issues demonstrate themselves then, or did this happen later?
That's a cool question. I mean, I think basketball and youth sports and playing really intense hoops all the way growing up, I think that was a massive help for the music industry because, I've made a living as a touring musician in an indie alternative rock band for the past 10 years. So, doors are slamming in your face all the time. It's just nonstop rejection. And as a kind of slow-footed 6-foot white guy with not a ton of natural talent, I was always playing up in higher levels than my physical form maybe thought I would play at. And that I think that just really helped me just to constantly be getting dunked on and but also doing well against players that were better than me,
Brett Newski is my guest this morning here at 105.5 WDHA. And there certainly is some pressure that athletes face. In fact, one of the first guests that we had here on Jersey Magazine, and it dealt with a mental health issue, was a former minor league pitcher who was on the mound the first time he had a panic attack. And he didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And he managed to get himself through it. But as it started to happen again and again, he started to look into it oh, that's what this is. Because anybody who's ever been in any kind of athletic contest, I don't care whether it's at the highest level or in T-ball, you have a certain level of, boy, I don't want to let my parents down, or I don't want to let, in fact, I was working with a young boy last night, 9 years old. And he said to me, I don't want to let my mom down. And we're just doing, a basic pitching thing. And I said to him, well, if you have fun and you do the best that you can, I guarantee you mom's going to be proud of you. And he smiled and he went about his way. But I'm thinking we're in a practice situation where there's absolutely no pressure at all. And that was the first thing that kid thought of.
Sure. I think, panic attacks are real. And I think oftentimes they're more subtle than you would imagine, like a stereotypical panic attack. So people don't know they're having them. And then it's really hard to have the self-awareness while you're in it, while you're in the midst of that toilet bowl or that trough. So like the pitcher, I mean, once you kind of get it identified, do a little research, maybe talk to a professional about it. It certainly helps to know that that's a thing that can happen to you. And then you kind of learn ways to deal with it and play offense against it, whether it's meditate, get on the floor and stretch, go for a jog, go exercise, go lift weights, draw, paint, write music, whatever it is. There's a lot of ways to combat that kind of stuff.
I mentioned when we started the interview that humor and mental health don't always seem to go hand in hand. I think of Robin Williams, who I had met some years ago. Actually, he was doing research for Good Morning Vietnam. And he was talking to a number of disc jockeys at the time. And he was so funny and so outgoing. And you had no idea of what the underlying issues were. Where did the inspiration for the book come from with you? And we kind of touched on this a little bit, blending the idea of humor and mental health together. Where did the inspiration for the book come from?
Yeah, I mean, I've always just loved illustrating, and more recently, I've really learned making fun of your own depression is pretty useful because it's such a taboo subject, Jim. So it's I think people could get offended if you make fun of this fun of that as a comedic subject matter, but I've just found it to be so useful. And it's just like, the book started, or the illustration started, as kind of a joke of me just like doing an exercise to kind of feel better in my own head, and making illustrations like what to do if someone doesn't reply to your email and you're worried they hate you, or stuff like that, where you get in your own head. So every page has like a useful little tip or trick or whatever to kind of like get out of your own head. And that was the mission. But as I posted these drawings, like they started to like get a lot of feedback, and people were really responsive to them. So I just kept making them, and then I accumulated enough for a book. And, you know, I had like 300 drawings, and like chopped it down to the best 150 or 200 or what? Yeah. 100. No, probably. I think there's like 200 drawings in there. So yeah, it's the greatest hits of all the worst things in my brain.
And we all talk to ourselves. You just don't want to do it out loud in front of people, right?
I mean, to be honest with you, I've been having like a mild panic attack for like the past 48 hours, because I have my like annual doctor's appointment next week, Tuesday. And then I'm like, oh no, what if something's wrong with me? What if I have a throat disease? And then I'll just like think of absurd stuff to obsess about. And I know it's like irrational and not useful at all, but it's weird. It's like your brain can be a real demon sometimes.
We're talking with Brett Newski this morning here at 105.5 WDHA on the Jersey Magazine. He'll be appearing actually in the city at Bowery Electric on April 5th. And then there's another show coming up here in New Jersey, a little south of where we are, April 10th in Collingswood. You've toured the world, literally, and recorded an album in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. What was that like?
That was as weird as it gets. I actually lived in Vietnam for 2 years. In Saigon in the South. And when I first got there, I was like traveling around with just a guitar and playing really ramshackle DIY shows on like rooftops or like smoky pubs or like just weird locations all over Asia. And when I had days off, I would try to find recording studios. And I would find like these makeshift recording studios in like people's houses in Vietnam or Thailand, or like a little hut where a guy had like an 8-track recording machine, or a little tree fort house in Saigon. And so I put together all these like lo-fi kind of acoustic recordings. And it was this collection of songs called In Between Exits. And I just did a remaster of it just last month. And I put it out on cassette, which is, I don't know anyone who has cassette players, but I just thought it'd be fun, you know?
You don't take the pencil and you used to wind it, you know, if the cassette got unraveled.
They sound cool. They sound warm. And I just thought the format really made sense to match with the way I recorded it, you know, just kind of these like, and like lo-fi recording, it can really sound really cool if it gets done right. And sometimes it sounds too fuzzy and terrible, but I'm just really pumped about these songs. And it's I like a little bit of punk music, so it's a good blend of like acoustic stripped down stuff with like a splash of punk in there, you know.
You know, you think of a lo-fi recording. Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska album was made on a Tascam 4-track recorder for. Yeah, I think he made that record for under $2,500, Brett.
Yep. Oh yeah, those can sound incredible. They're warm, you know.
What was the language barrier like in Vietnam for you?
Well, learning Vietnamese, I mean, it's pretty much impossible.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure people wiser and smarter than me can pick it up, but it's like a tonal language. So every other word has like 5 tones, and it just wasn't going to happen for me. But there's enough English speakers down there. A lot of my business was done in English. I was doing like commercial music jingles for TV. And someone at the ad agency would always like be pretty good at speaking English and stuff. But yeah, it was a weird time, man. I ate chicken feet off the sidewalk. You know, I ate like cow's wiener once, because they just put everything in the soup. Wow. You know, they don't waste anything, so it's all in there, and it's like 99 cents for lunch. It's a pretty good deal.
Wow. Brett Newski's my guest this morning here at 105.5 WDHA, the author of a new book. It's Hard to Be a Person, Defeating Anxiety, Surviving the World, and Having More Fun. How different are the challenges of dealing with anxiety? We mentioned your basketball career. How different is it when you're a musician?
Well, the most pressure I've ever faced in my life was playing in high school basketball because, there's like 1,000 people smashed into a tiny little gym every day. And like you couldn't even hear the coach. It was so loud. So he had to call plays out with a sign because you couldn't actually hear him. And like playing like these playoff games against like full court pressure with dudes that are way quicker than you. And I mean, that was the most pressure I think I'll probably ever face. But so like going on stage is nothing. And I've certainly had like some minor panic attacks. The first time I opened for the Violent Femmes at First Ave in Minneapolis, like I basically like blacked out like midway into the first song, but I had played the song so many times that I was just like doing it from muscle memory. And like, I don't know what happened, but I came to like midway through the song and then everything was fine once I saw people's faces and realized they didn't hate me. So that was cool. But yeah, it's I think the worst part is waiting for shows to happen, like the anticipation anxiety of waiting for a show to kick off, the hours leading up to it, even though you're going to play fine, you're going to be okay, you've done it a couple thousand times. But yeah, just as Tom Petty said, the waiting is the hardest part. That's a pretty horrible impression, deeply offensive. I'm sorry, Tom.
That's quite all right. Hey, men seem to have more difficulty opening up about depression and anxiety and things like that. From your own experience, why do you think that is?
Well, I can speak to that. Definitely growing up in the Midwest as a kid, where there's certainly a great deal of that kind of like, don't be a pussy culture, that kind of thing. It's a tough, you want to be tough and you're in public school and kids are mean and everyone's like fighting for territory. So yeah, it can be, this mental health movement is good, and people being open to it and talking about it. It's even though some of it can be a little cringy and you can see certain social media accounts pandering to that movement, for the most part, it's like, I think it's just a relief to people to be able to talk about some of their demons out loud. And that's such a great therapy,
There's a song of yours that I want to play called Seek Asylum from Myself. Tell our listeners about that, Brett.
So Seek Asylum for Myself, I wanted, like, it's basically a person, maybe it's me, it's probably me, having a like internal monologue of just kind of like freaking out. And I wanted to kind of make fun of my own brain for attacking me within the lyrics. So it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's an alternative rock song. I think it'll fit right in your wheelhouse. WDHA, quality station.
Well, we're going to play it now. Brett, thank you so much for joining us here on Jersey Magazine. And for listeners who want more information on Brett and his music and the book and everything Brett Newski related, you can go to brettnewski.com. Thank you very, very much for your time. I appreciate talking with you this morning.
Jim, you're such a pro. Thanks so much, man.